Di Carrington, hi, how are you?
Hi, Louise. I'm fine. I'm really good, thanks. How are you?
I'm really well. I'm very super excited that I'm talking to you this morning. So let me introduce Di to everybody who's listening. Di is one of the incredible Atlantic women who rowed the Atlantic in the Talisker Whiskey Challenge, rowing challenge. Can't quite get the words right, but you know what I mean. Basically, she rowed with two other ladies 3,000 miles across the Atlantic, and in doing so broke a number of world records. Hang on, just got the postman's just come to the door. Luckily the dogs didn't bark.
We won a
oh, what? Show.
We won the trio class.
So tell us about what you did win. So you won 3 world records. Please show that award. So you won the trio class from Talisker Whiskey, is that right?
Yeah. We each got awarded this. So we won the trio class, which we were very chuffed with.
It's beautiful.
We were the only trio in the race.
You wanted to wear it.
Something was great. So the records, which I am so chuffed with, as we became the first trio of ladies to ever do it. We became the oldest team of ladies to do it. And I became the oldest woman in the world to row any ocean at all. So that's the one I'm very chuffed about. I was 62.
So you were 62 when you did it. How old were Elaine and Sharon?
Gosh, I think Sharon was 55, about 55. And Elaine, I think, was 54.
Oh, a little baby. Baby in arms she was, wasn't she?
Yeah. Yes. Oh,
that's amazing. So you won 3 world records and you won the trio class. So that's an incredible feat, isn't it?
It is, because nobody believed we would do it. We most teams get sponsorship, and the logos for your sponsors go on your boat and get international recognition. But as we approached companies to try and get sponsorship, no one believed us. So financial input was virtually non-existent, because everybody just looked at us and said, "No, you're not going to do that. You're joking." 3 old women. I mean, it was only reaching out to people like yourselves to get intangible assets, which they were. Your help was amazing. People could gift us things, and what we did get gifted was so gratefully received. Thank you.
That's amazing. Oh, you're very, very welcome. We were super excited to have been asked by you to coach you before you hit the water, and we all got so much out of it. So it was a fantastic event for us. So we were willing you every inch of the way across the Atlantic. You've got a map behind you, Di.
Yeah.
Can you just show us, please, where you rowed from and to, and that will give us some idea.
This is the Atlantic. There's UK up there, and we started in the Canaries, near Tenerife, on an island called La Gomera, just here, and we rowed down towards Cape Verde, which are the islands here, and then we crossed over to Antigua there in the Caribbean.
Amazing. And that is 3,000 miles of big ocean.
Yeah, there's no shops, there's no harbours, there's nothing.
You can't just stop off for your morning newspaper or go for a coffee. You're just on that huge expanse of water. So what was that like to know at the start that you were going to be traversing the Atlantic? And to be honest with you, coming down to Cape Verde and then going back up again, what was that like?
It was very committing, because I knew that once we got going, that was it. We were committed. There was no going back. The only way to go back was if you had a disaster and had to be rescued by a cargo vessel, which would have been a very dangerous alternative, not one to choose.
Yeah.
Risk dying. So it was very committing. but I think it's what I needed. I needed something committing. I love challenges. I love to be thrown in. And once I can focus on it, I will go for it. And Sharon was the same. She was there. She knew the challenge. She's done endurance things before. So yeah, I would smile when people said, oh, you'll be all right if you have a storm. You can go in the harbour and put the anchor down and shelter. And where do you get your food? Does the support boat keep handing you food each day? And we just collected these lovely little descriptions of the myths that people thought we could do. People thought we were going to get stocked on the way and that there was a support boat next to us, but no, we saw nobody for days and days.
You are literally on your own, aren't you, in the middle of that big expanse? And some of the boats actually did get into trouble, and some of the boats had to be taken back. I mean, I don't know what the process of that is like, but did you know that that was happening?
We, at the time, the night it happened for the 2 catastrophic capsizes, we didn't know at the time, but I was out rowing solo that night. I think it was about 1:30 in the morning, if I remember rightly. And I had that sixth sense that I'm sure women get. Men might get them, but I had it. And it felt quite spooky on deck. So I lashed the oars down and I knocked on Elaine's door. And then I went in the cabin with Sharon and I said, we're not rowing anymore tonight. Not at the moment anyway. It's far too dangerous. I can't explain it, but it doesn't feel right. Having said those messages, I went to lie down in my sleeping bag, and just as my head went back on the pillow, I could hear a steam train coming towards us, and then there was an almighty bang. It was so loud, it felt like a steam train had hit us, and Sharon flew across the cabin and hit her head on the other side and landed on top of me. We'd been knocked down on our side, so we'd gone sideways. And we didn't know what was happening out there with the other boats because we couldn't see them. But a day or two later, the first support boat came along and I cheerily greeted them and said, oh, what have you been doing? Hiya, what have you been up to? We've been rescuing boats. And they started to tell us the stories of the rescues very briefly. But then it was when we phoned our partners, I phoned my husband, Brian, and Sharon phoned her daughter, and we started to hear there'd been catastrophic capsizes that night. All of the boats had capsized except us, all of them. We were the only ones that survived a capsize, and 2 of the capsizes were totally catastrophic. They had to be rescued. They couldn't carry on, and they were really nice guys, you know, strong, well experienced, well trained, and they nearly died. And that really unnerved us that night. So yeah. It was after that we heard about it.
So a capsize is, I would imagine out in the Atlantic, any capsize is going to be fairly catastrophic. What makes a catastrophic capsize? Okay.
That's a really good question, Louise. Normally a capsize, the boats are designed such that they right. That's the design of them. But the way that the catastrophic capsizes happen, if I just talk through those 2 boats, in a capsize, you can get damage anyway, like oars can get broken and you can lose kit that's not tied on, that kind of thing. But of the 2 that had catastrophic ones, one boat didn't right, so it remained upside down, which is horrendous. That must have been terrifying. They also then pulled their life raft out and it didn't inflate, so that was a malfunctioning life raft. And to make matters worse, they couldn't reach the grab bag which you have on deck. With all your emergency stuff in your passport, emergency medications you're on. And one of the guys was an insulin-dependent diabetic. So his rescue onto a cargo vessel turned into an emergency because he had to be helivaced off that cargo vessel. So those was pretty bad. But the worst one, do you want me to tell you about the worst one?
Yeah, if you're okay.
Ooh. Yeah, no, it still gives me goosebumps. It was Team Tenzing who'd been next to us on land when we were getting ready, so we got to know Chris and Max quite well. They were superb guys. They've done things like Everest, they've done loads of endurance, and they were tough guys. We were putting them as winners of the doubles because they looked so strong. Their capsize happened, and after it, they ended up with a fire on board because water must have got into the battery compartment, which with the pressure of water it must have just burst in, and they had a fire. They put it out because we all carry fire extinguishers, and they were able to put it out. But in the fire, they lost all of their electrics and electronics. So they were there in the middle of the night, in the dark, no electrics, no light, nothing. So they had to, I guess they called their Mayday. We have various ways of alerting for help. Mayday call, basically. And in the dark, in these huge seas, honestly, they were massive, absolutely massive. Their rescue became an oil tanker, a Brazilian oil tanker with virtually no English on board, never done a rescue. And their little boat, the same size as ours, 7 meters by 1.8, bobbing up and down in these huge seas, this huge oil tanker came alongside. If you've ever seen rescue at sea, you get in the English, on the English waters, you get little bobs, don't you? And you see how hard it is to get from the boats. Well, this is huge. This is massive, and in the dark, and no lights on Team Tenzing's boat. Their rescue was unbelievable. A ladder came down in the dark, and I think it was Chris grabbed it. And as soon as he grabbed it, his feet just lifted off their boat. So his boat vanished from him, and he climbed up the ladder, not knowing if he was going to see Max again. So Max was floating off in the boat in the dark, not knowing whether he'd see Chris again. Then a rope must have hit Max. He certainly felt it. He grabbed it with his hands and his teeth, grabbed it so tightly, climbing with his teeth to help. He actually dislodged teeth. And they did get rescued that night. They lost the boat. It just vanished in the dark. But when we met them the following spring, after the race, we all went to the award ceremony, and they were there. And you could see they rolled the dice of death that night. You could see like ghosts in their eyes. One of them actually went back this last year to do it again. He had to do it, and he did it, which was so lovely. But that's a catastrophic capsize.
Gosh, that does sound. I understand what the difference is now between it.
Yeah, both totally gone.
Yeah, gosh, that's incredible, and amazing that he went back. Obviously, to exercise his demons, to prove to himself he could do it, to unfinished business.
Yeah,
wow,
it was great watching him set off, and even better watching him arrive. It was lovely.
So that's an amazing story. Thank you for sharing that. And with that story, I think we can get a sense of just how perilous this journey is. This is not a punt across Lake Windermere, is it? And I'm guessing Lake Windermere can get quite choppy. This is not a punt, is it, on a lake? This is the huge Atlantic, which is I would imagine quite ominous at times. I've
been in big seas. I've been in the southern oceans because I've been down to Antarctica, and I've been in huge seas there in expedition boats, big metal research vessels, and so I knew what big seas were like. And I sailed and canoed, and I love rough water, but these seas in the Atlantic are huge, absolutely huge. And because you're in such a tiny boat, it takes you ages to get to the top of the wave, and then you go down the other side not knowing whether you're going to surf or not. And that is exciting. The surfing was amazing. We went at 14.9 knots at one point, which I thought was fantastic. The water gushes into the boat, just rolls in, and then you have to bail it all out. But you go so fast, and it's like, whoa. But
so is it like coming down a slide, coming down the other side of that wave?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, and if you know when you see the wake of a speedboat that's kind of going like this, that is coming into your boat.
Wow.
14.9 knots is fast.
That is fast. Wow, that's amazing. And obviously, that's something that you really enjoyed. There was an adrenaline hit there when you were doing surfing.
Yeah, I love that. I'm not so sure that everyone on board loved it, but I did. Oh,
it's nice to know you had those moments of just sheer joy and exhilaration as well. So you were chosen as skipper, Di. What was that like, to be chosen as skipper and to be skipper of that boat, to be the person who makes the ultimate decisions and provides that leadership in the boat? What was that like, Di?
It's a mixture of an honour, but with huge responsibilities. It was a bit of a bit of a no-brainer, because the others hadn't done what I'd done. I'd sailed, I'd canoed, I'd navigated, I'd got various qualifications in the outdoor world, and for me to be out there was less new. My experience of my background gave me a lot more backup, I guess. And so, having been in some pretty life-threatening situations, I knew I'd got the ability to remain calm and to handle it. And I knew that Sharon would be as well, because both of us had worked in the NHS, and we'd both been to crash calls where somebody's arrested and you have to be calm and sort yourselves out. But it was also a challenge, because I was with two very strong characters, and that did throw some curveballs. But the coaching you gave us enabled me to work on that when situations arose. And the challenge at the beginning, when I was being so seasick and not able to function as well as I needed to, I had a very strong backup there with Sharon, because she was able to take over in the daily tasks like making meals and doing some of the calls, which were meant to be my job, some of the calls to the duty officer. She took some of those jobs on, and she made all the meals and the water. And it didn't mean I still did some of those, but I didn't have to do all of them, because Sharon was a very strong backup and really took over. So yeah, she takes a lot of credit for being a strong, level, equal skipper with me. So I give her huge respect.
That's really, really great. Yeah, I mean, when I spoke to Sharon last week and speaking to you, I mean, you're very calm. You're focused on what it is that you're doing, and underlying that there is this strength of character, isn't there? That, you know, Sharon told us actually that you picked her out of the gym. Do you remember?
Yes, I did.
Because she was pushing her heart monitor into the red, and you know, you were watching that and thought, oh, she's a likely candidate to be my partner across the Atlantic. What was that process like?
Oh, it was
Literally,
great.
had you been eyeballing her for a while?
Well, I didn't know her, but I'd asked so many people in the gym, thinking, why aren't you coming with me? And in the end, I decided I had to change tack. So instead of asking people and saying, I'm rowing the Atlantic next year, I'm looking for a team, would you like to join me? That wasn't working. So I thought, right, I've got to work at this a different way. And we wear these heart monitors, and we were doing this class, and I saw this person. I didn't know who she was. And she had a different name on the heart monitor, so it identified her as, what was it? I think it was Poppy, actually. I can't remember now. And I said to somebody, who's that person? And eventually they connected that person on the monitor at screen to Sharon on the floor. And I went, oh, right. And I was quite surprised, because she was petite, she's little, she's an inch littler than me. So I wasn't expecting it to connect. But as soon as I watched her, I thought, yeah, she does, she really works hard. So yeah, I connected very quickly, just before the start of a class or something, and it was like, yeah, you're going to be good, really work hard. Nobody else was getting their heart rate as hard as Sharon, and yes, it meant two things. It meant she either pushes herself hard or she's not very fit. But kind of watching her and what she was doing and seeing the heart rate, I could see she was a tough cookie. She was going to be good. So she was somebody I wanted to harness in, and she was great.
Fantastic. You're obviously really, really good at recruiting the right person to do the right job, because she said that you were quite sick, I think, with seasickness at one point. You were supposed to be taking on, was it 4,000 or 5,000 calories? Oh, we've just lost you, Di.
I touched my screen. Sorry about that. I'm not very
That's all right.
Yeah,
That's okay.
we were meant to be eating. We had to eat something like 60 calories per kilogram of body weight. And I mean, normally, I'm normally a small eater, and I've never been big in my life. We had to put about 2 stone on before we left, and I struggled with that. Everybody used to laugh at me. Come on, you need to eat more cakes, they'd say. And I really found it hard to put weight on. Despite, I just couldn't get it in. So even putting the weight on before we started was a challenge for me, because I would kind of whiz from one training session to another, and in between grab a protein bar and say, we need more than that. I can't get it in. So my calories for my weight worked out actually at 4,000 calories a day. But 4,000 calories is a huge amount, absolutely massive. And when you're being seasick, it's worse. And the meals that were going in and coming back never tasted the same when they came back. So whatever it was, be it the chili con carne, you'd go, oh, I don't want that again, because it was horrible when it came back. So it became a real challenge. I was desperately trying to force this food in with Sharon's help. Come on, Di. And she was cooking it, because if you took your eyes off the horizon, you just lost it. I was better on deck. I used to eat on deck. If I'd eaten in the cabin, I would have not got my mouthful in me. But it was so hard. I mean, it was hard to get it in and keep it in, but also it was blowing off your spoon into the sea. So so there were lots of challenges of getting the food in.
Yeah.
I mean, Sharon not being able to cook for me in that first month, I would have disappeared to nothing. It was a battle. I've never been seasick before.
Have you not? So what do you think it was
never.
about, what do you think it was about this situation?
Well,
sickness.
Sharon and I looked at the side effects, because I was on antidepressants at the time, and we looked at the side effects. And because I was being so sick, I thought, right, I'll stop eating my supplements and anything that wasn't necessary. Anyway, they were coming back, so it was pointless. They went in and came out. So I stopped my antidepressants, my supplements, and just worked at getting energy food in. So instantly, I abruptly stopped antidepressants. When we looked at the side effects, it said sickness was one of the things. The other thing that added into it was not getting enough sleep. And I knew I wasn't getting enough sleep. So we modified our shift and worked out a way that I could sleep a bit more. And I started to take my antidepressants again. And that's when my seasickness went. Seasickness. Or was it the antidepressant stop?
So it was antidepressant sickness, or was it the fact that you stopped them, or the fact that you were on them? The fact that you stopped.
The fact I stopped them instantly.
Right.
I was on a fairly big dose, and I suddenly stopped them. And the side effect of doing that is sickness. So I could have nearly killed myself then.
Good heavens.
Yeah, which looking back it was worrying. It makes me kind of feel very nervous about prescribed medication. But we got through it with Sharon's help. Got back on the antidepressants on the boat. She pushed the food at me. I did my best to eat it if it didn't blow off. And I think I only lost 11 or 12 kilograms, which, given the seasickness, I wasn't too bad. I had I meant to bring, when I got to Antigua, my shorts kept falling down. There was a lovely lady in Antigua. She put a beautiful belt on the boat one day. She said, because I keep seeing you having to put your shorts up. And they would keep falling down. And she left me a belt to hold my shorts up. The kindness was...
People are so kind. Just going back to the start, I know that you were actually coaching one of the other teams just before the start. Is that right, Di? Do you remember that? You were passing on ideas. Was it about how they could work as a team together, if memory serves me correctly?
I always reach out. We have a closed group on Facebook, and so any ocean rowers that are reaching out for help, I'm always in there pushing ideas and help on there. So yeah, anybody who reaches out for help, I love helping them. So yeah, threw a few ideas out to them, especially the ladies teams who were looking for and more receptive to female help. So yeah,
fantastic. And there's the reciprocal kindness, isn't there? So you do that for some people, and other people it's like that paying forward, isn't it? And then you get someone to give you a nice belt to keep your trousers up or your shorts up.
Absolutely, yeah.
Very nice. So Di, this was a chat. What is it about challenges? So what was it specifically about this challenge that really grabbed you?
The seed was sown just after my 60th birthday. And it was a really good friend of mine who I'd known all my married life, so over 30 years, over 35 years actually. And she knew I was struggling with anxiety, depression. If I go back to when I was 55, I was in a high-powered job in the NHS and ended up having a breakdown, burning out. I just crashed out of work in a real mess, and was diagnosed with anxiety, depression. Looking back, I was very ill. I was suicidal. I didn't dare go out. I got to the point where I couldn't go out of the house. My emails were a blur. I would just be in tears if somebody spoke to me. My jaw was so tight with tension, I could barely eat. It was like I could barely move it. My body was contorted with this tension of stress, and I was in a real mess. And so on my 55th birthday, to be told I'd got anxiety, depression, and started on antidepressants, and also then a few months down the line, sleeping tablets because I wasn't sleeping still, I felt a real mess. And I don't know. I really tried. I tried to get better over the next 5 years because I lost my job as a result of it. I couldn't get well enough to go back to work, so lost my job. And at 60, knowing the pension age of women had changed, and I didn't know how I was going to get an income, living on a minuscule salary. When I got to 60, I had two close members of my family, my husband and my father, both diagnosed with cancer that they weren't going to recover from. And my life just felt like it was going down another black hole. So my friend Liz said, I think we need to do something crazy. I really do. And so it shook me. And she went on to say, I've just seen 4 ladies row the Atlantic. So I went, right, that's what we're doing. We're going to be 4 60-year-old ladies, and we're going to row the Atlantic. We're going to be the oldest ladies ever to row it. So it kind of was, it was an opportunity to pick something up. I felt useless. I felt worthless. That was part of my illness. I felt as if I couldn't manage anything. I felt completely, what was the point in being on the planet? I hadn't been able to have children. I couldn't work. I'd lost my job. Everything felt like it was going wrong. But suddenly I could do something. And that was what I was going to do. And it sparked a bit of life into me. So I focused on it in a big, big way. That was just after my 60th birthday. So for the next 2 years, I was working hard, planning, focusing on the challenge in an area that I felt I was in my element, totally absorbed. I lived the whole thing in that 2 years. My family just were dismissed, despite the fact they got cancer, you know. I was very selfish, but it's what got me through. It got me through. And I recommend trying anything. If you're feeling blue.
So you focused on the challenge to the exclusion of everything else. You just deep immersion into that challenge, and did the anxiety and depression lift? Did it change? What happened?
I think it did. I think part of that anxiety depression was the fact I had felt so worthless in society. And suddenly I had taken on this huge thing that I knew I could do. I knew I could do it. I convinced myself. It was something that I thought, wow, I love the sound of that. And it doesn't matter what it was, but for me, it was floating my boat. Sorry, it's a pun. But I could get my teeth into it. I was the one that would be searching for all the kit. I would be working out the calories of food. I would be doing absolutely everything. I would be trying to raise the money. I would be doing the Facebook. I would be doing the website. I did all the website for us. And I just loved it. I was so absorbed in everything because I felt I was being useful in the whole process. And it just gave me a purpose. It gave me something. It gave me a meaning to get up in the morning. It gave me a reason to get up. It gave me something to do. I know it's a bit of a crazy one, but it did. It was having a purpose. I can't think of any other way of describing it.
I do think purpose is massively powerful. Sometimes when we lose our purpose, that can send us, forgive the pun, but rudderless through the ocean, can't it?
Yes.
all these seafaring analogies coming out. And purpose, I believe, from a coaching point of view, is everything. Well, you certainly found that purpose in the Atlantic Ladies Rowing Team, for sure, for definite. So when you were rowing across the Atlantic then, Di, were you overcoming all of that? Were you growing into a different person? What was that? What was the actual physical rowing part of it in terms of becoming who you wanted to become?
I actually haven't thought of that one before, but I think if I reflect on each day, I think what I realised was it was a huge challenge. And I remember when I was working and given a huge project to do, it's how do you eat an elephant? And you do it bit bite by bite. You can't look at the whole elephant. So my big goal was to arrive in Antigua, and every moment I thought of, I visualized that arrival in Antigua. But in the day, I was breaking down each shift. I was breaking days down. I was breaking each shift down and thinking of what I was doing in the next, either that shift of rowing, which quite often was just distraction therapy, singing, listening to music, looking for wildlife. And then I was looking forward to my shift off, where I would maybe make a meal, make the water, do the comms, the navigation, and any maintenance, and then phone my husband. So it was like I had a purpose. I had to get through each 2-hour shift to do the next thing, and the next thing in my off shift was to keep the team going, by food, with basic things, food, water, navigation, comms. So the purpose was there in a sort of 4-hour rotation. And when I was rowing, it was getting us another, whatever, 5, 6 nautical miles towards Antigua. So every 2 hours, every 4 hours, there was something I had to focus on, had to achieve. And Sharon was really helpful in that, because she, especially as we got towards the end, we had this goal of trying to achieve 50 nautical miles a day. And we were doing it some days, but Sharon and I would exchange how many were we doing after the first hour, and she would say, oh, you've done so many. I said, oh, great, let's see if I can do this and many in the next 2. And just having those little chunks of focus really helped. And it's helping me now in this lockdown, because I get up in the morning, I have low moments still, but I get up and I think, what am I getting up for today? Okay, let's at least make my bed. Let's make breakfast. Let's put some washing in. And it's working through a day and having a purpose. So at the end of the day, you can look back and actually say, yes, I rode so many miles. Or in a house in lockdown, I got up, I had made a bed that I was grateful to get in at night. I'd made these meals and done some washing. There's the clean washing. So it did help. Yeah, and that's quite nice to look back on it and compare it to now.
Well, it's interesting that you say on the boat, the important things, I think you said 4 things, 3 of them I remember. So the food and the water, and the communications. And if you think about what we're doing in lockdown right now, it's having the food on the table, isn't it? It's, I keep saying on my sessions, I'm so grateful that, because I'm in a half-done project, and I'm so grateful I've got water and it's warm, and, those basic things. And of course the communications with the outside world. So if we didn't have communications with the outside world, lockdown would be more difficult, I think. And I think letting the world in through your iPad or your phone is really, really helping, isn't it? So it's an interesting parallel between those 2 basic needs, as you say.
Definitely. And I would encourage anybody who's struggling at the moment to have those basic needs firmly in place. The highlight of my day was, it was around about between 6 and 8. I forget exactly the time, but it was after our evening meal, which I made. I would then secretly phone, not secretly, but I'd be in my cabin and I would phone my husband. And that was the best time of the day. So reaching out on a daily basis to talk to somebody who gives you positive encouragement, who is so lovely to connect with. And for me, it was just the best part of the day, and I look forward to it all day long. And afterwards, I felt so good.
Amazing, amazing. So where are you now? So I know that you're working with some interesting therapies. Would you like to share that with us, please, Di?
I would love to. Because of my experience with the medication and being sick, I carried on being determined to get off my medication. And I carried on for a year, struggled, and I was getting so frustrated. And given my determination to get across the Atlantic, people are amazed I couldn't get off my antidepressants, but I couldn't. And that suddenly changed last June. I met a lovely lady who invited me to an essential oils class. She said, "Do you like essential oils?" And I said, "I quite like them." I took 2 with me on the Atlantic, and I put them on my lava stone bracelets, which I still wear. I took lavender and rosemary because they smell so nice. And we put them on our lava stone bracelets, Sharon and I did, to make the cabin smell nicer after using the bucket. But I knew you couldn't use them on your skin, hence the bracelets. I went to this essential oils class and was introduced to the most amazing, therapeutic, high-grade essential oils. They are incredible. They're very pure, safe and potent. So I now can take them not just on my lava stone bracelets, I can put them on my skin. I take them internally. Wow. So each morning I have oils that I put under my tongue. And you know what? I'm off my antidepressants. Ever since that class in June last year, I haven't needed antidepressants.
Amazing.
Moments where I might reach for a little oil, neroli, which is serotonin booster, and I'm learning so much about the oils. I have a book which I dip into, or friends I ask. I'm just learning loads, and I haven't needed anything from the doctor. I must tell you about I had terrible fingers and thumbs after the row. I had trigger thumb, which is very painful. I had, the first time I got it, I had a steroid injection. Came back again a few months later, and I had another steroid injection. Both are painful. The injection's painful, and the trigger thumb is painful, but it resolved it. Just before Christmas, it happened again, 3rd time, and I thought, I can't face another steroid injection. What about the oils? I used the oils, completely resolved. No steroid injection needed. That's how potent these oils are. They've got me off my antidepressants, they've resolved my trigger thumb, they help my knee heal before I climbed Kilimanjaro. I tore my meniscus, so I used them on my knee, internally and externally, and they're my magic friends. I love them. And I want everybody in the world to have them in their house.
So I have to say, it's not every day that someone just says, as an off-the-cuff comment, you know, I tore my meniscus when I was climbing Mount Kilimanjaro, just like a throwaway little comment. So just go to Kilimanjaro, then we'll go back to the oils. So when did you do Kilimanjaro, Di, and what was that like? Because that's on my bucket list.
Yeah, it was actually quite tough. I nearly died on that. The meniscus, I was during my training, I tore it, but the oils helped me fix it. So I was fine walking. It was the altitude that got me. Even with the oils, which I was using, the altitude got me on day 2, quite early on. And I was sick. I couldn't keep anything down on day 2. And then I wasn't allowed to do the acclimatization on day 3. So I was kind of really handicapped with the rest of the group. Day 4, I was starting to feel better, and in the morning I was fine, and then in the afternoon I couldn't breathe at all, and I found that very, very scary. I just could not get a breath in. I tried to summit that at midnight, but with lack of food and with the breathlessness I'd had, I got 2 hours into the summit night, and I just felt like curling up and sleeping, which for me was a warning sign that you just want to die. And we'd seen a dead body come down that day anyway, so I knew how serious it was. It's the closest I've come to dying. So I got to 5,200 meters. Everybody else in the group got up one way or another, be it on the back of a Sherpa or dragged along. But I didn't get to the top.
Gosh, well, I'm sorry to hear about the person who didn't make it up there. That's really tragic. Well done. So you got to what, 5,300, did you say?
5,200, so that was 700 meters short of the summit.
Do you think you might do it again, or have you ticked that off your bucket list?
I think I've ticked that one off. I'm enjoying grounded and locked in.
Yeah, because you can't challenge yourself, can you? Except to just be in your lovely home. So coming back to the oils, I just want to share with you that the oils are very interesting to me as a form of therapy, because you know that we rescue dogs from the dog meat trade, and often they're very, very traumatized. And a friend of mine who rescued another dog from the dog meat trade suggested that I try zoo pharmacognosy, which is quite a long word, hard to remember sometimes, and it's all about the oils. It's all about the therapy of oils working with the dogs. And so I had a local practitioner come. She came, I don't know, half a dozen times maybe, with Ron, because of course Ron was deeply traumatized when I first got him. And the first session, and he was really intrigued by the oils, so he was drawn to some and not drawn to others. And I think I can't remember the oil, but I think he sat for 15 minutes with his nose over the oil, literally just soaking it up. And I think the theory is that it gets into your cells, and then when you have enough of that, they just move away from it, and they might never need that again. I don't know whether it's the same with you.
It's absolutely right, and that is so lovely to hear. I'd love to hear more about that. But yeah, the essential oils these ones are safe. Not all of them are safe because they've got additives and fillers in, but these are safe. The cell has an oily membrane in our bodies, animal, humans and dogs, oily membrane, which standard drugs can't break through because they're water-based, and nasty things can get in our cells. And these essential oils can break through that oily membrane and work in an adaptogenic way. So I can believe that story about the dog. Meg is benefiting from the use of our oils. She can come and go, but she's drawn to oils she likes and moves away if she's had enough. So that's a beautiful story, Louise. So is there more to it? Have I interrupted you?
Well, what more there is to it is that I actually took all of my oils over to South Korea when we were working in a pretty horrendous temporary shelter over there, in horrible freezing cold conditions and so on. And I placed various oils outside of the dogs' kennels. And one of the dogs, Suar, was this big, beautiful hound. So they were placed outside of the kennels, so that they were in sort of the aroma and the essence could travel. And this was a particularly safe oil that she was using, but I can't remember which one it was because I didn't leave them with the unsafe, the ones that they couldn't ingest. And she picked it up. She got her nose through the wire. She picked up the oil and she put it next to her bed, and I swear to God, it makes me want to cry every time I think about it. That she just knew that was going to help her. And I always remember that. The South Korean, there was a South Korean trainer who was there a couple of times, and he was quite intrigued with, I think, basil. He was interested in so he kept going on about how wonderful basil was, but it wasn't for him. It was for the effects of the dogs, I have to say. So I think this essential oil and the way that it does, it's not just about an essence that we feel better because it smells nice. It's actually about the physiological difference it makes, isn't it? So yeah. So where are you at with this oil therapy then, and what is it called?
Well, the company that I get my oils from is called DoTERRA, and so the psychologist who introduced me to them last summer, her name's Becky, and she introduced me to the oils. I got the kit and started using them, And I got a book as well, so I dip in the book if I get a problem, if I get a headache or I get a bruised toe or a wasp sting, I look at the book and go, oh, I need lavender, I need whatever, basil or something. And I am loving it so much. I'm getting involved in 7 classes a week, 3 online classes, Zoom classes, and we're teaching people about the oils, showing them why these oils are safe and why they work. And then for those that want to get the oils into their own home, we show them how they can access the oils. And for me, I just love helping people. So by sharing it with as many people as I can and getting them to these classes, I'm helping people get them into their home. The company is even more amazing because it's got a branch of it that's Healing Hands. It's a humanitarian company. And one of its things it's doing at the moment is it's reaching out to frontline NHS workers and it's giving them free bundles of oils. It's just a fabulous company to get involved with. If you know a charity, before Christmas, I had a charity I was going to help, and Becky said if I can help that charity a bit, she would match fund it up to the amount of 25,000. So I could do that with a charity.
Wow. There's
a thought. I just love helping in whatever way. And I kind of, my brain's on overdrive now with you. It's such a lovely company. Because I'm sharing it with people, the company thanked me with a little bit of compensation back. So I'm actually, because I'm not doing my talks now, my income has dropped really low. So I'm actually getting my oils for free now because everybody I introduce, the company pay me a little bit. And if anybody else does the same, they pay them a bit. And it goes on and on and on. But that's not really the bit that's getting me. But it's sharing the oils I just love doing.
Yeah, well, I'm with you. I'm definitely with you on that, Di, because I've seen it. And the animals, of course, you know, there isn't the placebo effect with animals that there is with humans, right?
Yeah.
And so a lot of the alternative therapies, like, for example, homeopathy, animals don't know they're receiving a homeopathic medication, do they? And I love the ethics of working with oils with the dogs, because we only offer what they want. And if we were going to add some oil, we would also give them the opportunity not to have that oil too. So they've got the 2 choices. You can always make that choice. So I just think it's really ethical. Could you, when we post this, could you put a link in the comments so that we can access the oil companies or your presentations when they start up again after lockdown, if they're still running? Would that be okay, Di?
Yeah, I'll put something in there that will help people connect. Yeah,
brilliant. And so a combination of the challenges that you undertake and looking after yourself and working with yourself from a physical point of view, but as also a cellular point of view, with the oils, for example, is do you think that is keeping you really well? You said you were off your medication now, which is amazing to hear. Congratulations on that. Do you think it is the life choices that you've made recently, in recent times?
I would say yes. I feel as if I have empowered myself by getting off prescribed medication and finding an alternative natural solution. And because I feel empowered with that, that's given me a self-confidence which I'd lost. I'd lost all my confidence. Hard to believe, given I rode the Atlantic, but I lost all of it until doing that. And, I've lost the thread here a little bit, but yeah, I would say I am loving living the life I live now. I am working at using as much natural remedies, solutions, ways of life as I can. And I love paying forwards. I love doing anything at all that can help others. So it becomes a very positive cycle of helping people, and that paying forward somehow comes back. So like I've seen the stories of people who dropped off half a dozen eggs from their chickens at somebody's door. That kind of goes around. I've dropped oils at people's doors, and things go round, don't they? I love painful was I love helping people. It gives me a feeling of being worth being on the planet.
Yeah.
And as naturally as I can without damaging the planet. I don't want to damage the planet. I saw the plastic on the Atlantic and I came back so passionate about being natural and not using plastic and not using anything nasty. And I'm working on that and I'm so loving it. I'm going to start making cheese now as well as sourdough bread.
Oh, that sounds wonderful. You'll have to send me some when you've made a batch. So so you wrote, you had two really big things happen when you came back. You wrote a book and you had a play. Tell us about the book and tell us about the play.
Yeah. They kind of went hand in hand. I'd always wanted to write a book, and I have achieved that now, which is a lovely feeling. I'd always wanted to write a book, and I'd never had a subject to write on or an idea how you went about it. So I thought, well, doing the Atlantic is quite a good story, isn't it? Well, I thought it would be anyway. I didn't know how good. So I kept a journal, and one of the things I did in my off shifts, which weren't really off shifts, this is when people think you sleep, one of my jobs was I kept a journal, which was very hard, and if I was able to show it you now, it's downstairs, but you wouldn't be able to read it because it's like really scrawly. So when I got home, I deciphered the journal. It brought back some of the recall of memories, and I turned it into this book, which is a very fair story of what I'd like the public to see and read about. I had fun choosing the photos that went in it. That was great fun. And I spoke to another author in my village and asked, how do you even start writing a book? And so she pointed me in the direction of the ways of doing it. And I thought, well, a publisher, having done the Atlantic and not got sponsorship, a publisher's not going to go for me. We'll be here for ages. So I self-published, which cost me a bit, but I didn't care. All my money's gone now. Money's meaningless. And it was just lovely because when I do talks, people just come and they love a book and I write in it and I hope I inspire them. And I think I've had people message me to say, you reduced me to tears. I couldn't put that book down.
Wow.
And grown men have said I cried. It really had me there because it's quite raw. In places it's raw. But yeah, the other thing that happened was the play. Chris Alden Lee, who works for the BBC, he, a year before we rode, was at a party that I was at. He said, what is it you're doing next winter? I said, well, yeah. Oh, he said, doubting my ability. If you do it, I'll write you a play. I said, okay, fair enough. He didn't think we'd do it, but he went along with me, you know, sweet talking me up. And he got the actors and he started to interview us, and the actors had to meet us, and then they followed us just like you did on the app, the Yellow Brick Races app, and they all followed us and had to get into the feeling of being with us. And yeah, we went on to do the play, which Sharon and I went to the rehearsals and helped them. So we showed them how to row, we taught them about the capsize, we told them about how we used the bucket in the cabin
for the toilet.
So they acted that part out, which was hysterical. And we had a great scene with Thor the doctor, who, when the second support boat came over to our boat. Oh, that was lovely. Because I rode with nothing on. But when Thor came, I had to put my bikini on. But he asked us, oh, how are you, girl? How are you, ladies? And how are you psychologically? Which was very caring. And how are your groins? And it was like, I hope he doesn't want to see them. Because they were such a mess. Honestly, our bums and everything, without going into details, was absolute agony. I've seen worse babies' bums, but I've never felt the pain of having salt sores all over. Forget that, because that's all. But yeah, so this play went ahead. It was so successful, so really successful. It had to be, whatever you call it, run again a few months later, because it was a sellout. And it went into Wales as well. It went to Abu Dhabi and Barmouth. You came to see it, which was fabulous.
We did.
And, yeah, and the good news is it was also recorded and went on a DVD. But the great news is it's available for people to watch on YouTube now. So I can share you the link again.
Links galore, Di. Wow.
You can watch it for free on YouTube now. It's in 2 parts, Act 1 and Act 2, and yeah, it was quite a success.
Fantastic. So we'll put those links in as well, Di.
Yes.
So we'll be busy putting lots of links in this post. Thank you for that. And so your book is called
Atlantic Lady.
And how do people get a copy of that book?
Given that we're in lockdown, the only way at the moment really is for them to go to Amazon and put Atlantic Lady in by Diane Carrington. Diane with 2 N's if you need their full name. And it's available on there. It's free postage, I believe. I could offer to post them, but I'd have to charge postage and go to the post office. So Amazon's the best.
Okay, brilliant.
Yeah.
Brilliant. And we'll put the link to the YouTube of your play, which is very, very exciting because it's really funny and it does actually give you a real good sense of what it was like to be in those cabins. There was lots of music and singing, wasn't there, Di?
There was. Sharon was our karaoke queen. She's great because she would sing. I remember her bursting out the cabin when I was rowing on deck, and she burst out the cabin when we'd done 1,000 miles, and she was dressed with Christmas decorations hanging off her ears and great big sun specs on, and she came out with music playing to celebrations that we'd done 1,000 miles. She was amazing. I loved her music. We all had music, and her music I really loved her playing. So she would put music on for me and ask what I wanted. So I would either choose my music or hers. But she was great. She was sing along, and I would try and sing. I can't sing, but music and singing kept us going. And we made songs up. The play is a half musical. It's got lots of really good songs in. And a bit of a dance move as well.
yeah, and there's dance. So she actually took what? She took Christmas decorations in this tiny little boat because she knew that she wanted to do that at 1,000 miles. Is that right?
Yeah,
that's great planning.
There was a lot more as well. We had beards as well for when the doctor saw us. We put false beards on.
I love it. You crazy women, you. Yeah. Crazy women. Absolutely brilliant. Di, thank you so much for sharing your stories with us, for talking about your amazing expedition and that wonderful challenge, and so many other things too. You're a remarkable woman, and an absolute inspiration. And as I said, we were very, very honoured to be your coaches. And it's great to touch base with you after it's been a few months, hasn't it? Probably last summer that we chatted last.
Yeah.
So it's been really lovely. Thank you so much. And here's to a wonderful, I don't know, new normal. We'll go for a new normal.
Yeah. Oh, it's been lovely, Louise. Thank you so much, and thank you for all your help over the coaching time. It's brilliant. Couldn't have done it without you.
Oh, you could.
You can come with us next time.
Oh my God, I never let you in on the secret, Di, did I actually? I never let you in on the secret. Pardon?
You're going to do it?
No. No. I do know Mount Kilimanjaro. I just don't fancy rowing across the Atlantic. Jane and I, when you were training and we were coaching you, Jane and I were doing the gym rowing machine. We were using the rowing machine, and both of us absolutely hated the rowing machine, and we thought we can't, we were going, how can that, like, I can't do 30 seconds on a blooming rowing machine without going, get me off this thing, I hate it. And we were like, literally, how are they going to do that? I mean, Sharon said it's very different than being on a rowing machine, but it doesn't inspire one to get in the Atlantic, I have to say.
No. I agree. Well done trying. Thank you. Thank you so much. Lovely.
Bless you. Thank you, Di. Lots of love, and have those lovely walks. Enjoy yourself, and I'll see you again very soon.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
Take care, Di. Lots of love.
Bye.